What is up, ladder climbers? This is Antoine Wade, six-figure earner and millionaire, and welcome back to the Black Heights channel where we talk about all things that help you to become successful in life. And I know you have an open mind, so do me a favor and stay here for the entire video because I have a lot to say. While you're at it, if you aren't subscribed to this channel yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell to be alerted when we drop that new content. And guys, while you're at it, go ahead and stump on that like button because it helps us grow the channel. And in today's video, guys, we are going to be reacting to Abba and Preach, their video on men giving up on college. You guys know that we talk about education on this channel, specifically around STEMs and business and information technology. And these are the careers that I'm steering you in order for you to avoid what people say that college is a scam. So let's see what Abba and Preach has to say about this topic right now.
Men are abandoning higher education in such numbers. They now trail female college students by record levels. So get this, in 2020, the college gender gap has surged. 59% of college students are women, 40.5% of college students are men. And if you look even further, Marshall, it is predominantly young white men, regardless of class status, both poor and those, but when you compare poor and working class white men to those of young Black, Latino, and Asian men from the same economic backgrounds, they are the ones who are kind of leading the way in dropping out. So look, there's always going to been a little bit of an imbalance within college, but 60-40 all within a year and a dramatic increase in that, especially whenever it comes to socioeconomic status, is absolutely crazy. It's going to change higher education for a long time. So what's going on here?
Well, it's not just going to change higher education, it's going to change our country.
Yeah. Right.
Because the key fact in this Wall Street Journal report, it's probably paywalled, but I really recommend people try to find it as much as they can, because once again, this is actually, I don't want to overstate this, a game changer as we look to how the next couple of decades are going to play out. There's been a huge actual decline in the number of individuals enrolled in college over the past decade, and 71% of that decline is driven by young men. Like that is the key fact.
People are saying they don't want to do it and they're making that conscious choice. Great. Listen, university is not tenable for most folks. Having to take out hundreds of thousands of dollars in through student loans, or even 50, 60 grand with interest and all that stuff. It's untenable, considering also the fact that the return on investment isn't very high for a lot of these degrees.
It's crazy, isn't it?
So knowing that young men are saying, listen, I'm not going to fuck up my whole life, take on all this debt and shackle myself to a degree that I probably don't even know if I want to do, because who the fuck knows what they want to do when they're 18, bro. At 18, I don't even know where I want to stick my dick in. You want to tell you where I could choose my future? Bro, are you mad? That's crazy.
All right, so I gotta say this, right? So obviously we've seen the numbers, we've seen the facts and so forth, but are we looking at the modern men? Guys, go back in time. I remember growing up and my elders, my grandma, my grandfather was always talking about, AJ, become a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. That hasn't changed. If you look at the majority of people having success in today's world that has a college degree, there are the people who have a business degree and some sort of STEM degree, science, technology, engineering, math. I think the majority of people are really finding out that the degrees that they're getting in college are worthless. They're useless. So is it the college fault? No. Or is it the people's fault because research has already told them what is actually needed, and not only research, people. People have been saying that for the longest. My grandmother, my grandfather, my uncles, my aunts. I was in middle school, they were asking what you want to be. I said a firefighter. They said, no, you should be a doctor, lawyer, or engineer. It's been taught to you for the longest. It's your fault that you are in the position that you are in and you are dropping out of college and you're choosing not to go to college because you didn't listen. Hard heads make a soft tail, and this is the result of it. What you are seeing happen is the modern men finally catching on to the game. And sorry, it is too late.
You're moving mad.
That's crazy.
You're moving mad.
And you're telling me I have to make a choice and take on debt? Bruh, this is a lose-lose, and it's gonna be a lose-lose in 20 years. So it's just L's all day. Then I get to school, I'm stressed out, don't enjoy it, and the next 4 years of my life are just absolute trash if I didn't pick correctly. Nigga.
The whole point of it is this. You didn't pick correctly because you didn't have a vision. At the end of the day, you should be going to college to try to figure out how much money you're going to make. That's ultimately what you should be going to college for, is to get into a career that's going to allow for you to make a certain amount of money. If you look at the statistics, the median wage for a person in the United States is $54,000 a year. Why in the world would you go to college to try to major in something that's going to pay you $35,000 a year? Useless. It's your own fault. The internet is full of information. You should be looking up the information to make the best choices for yourself. And we teach that on this channel. If you go through this catalog all the way on this channel, you're going to see all the types of careers that you should choose, or you should potentially choose if it's the right fit for you, so that you can have a high salary and also to be able to use that money to invest, guys, to get out of that game. That's the whole point of it. A career, a job, is a means to an end for you to do something later on. You're not going to find your passion. And one thing about Alba and Preach, these guys are millionaires. Yes, they are millionaires. But you got to remember, there are not many people who are going to make it like these guys. And they're the ones right now who are telling you and giving you the game that if you don't make the right decision, you're probably going to be screwed like a lot of these guys are. So guys, this is confirming that if you don't make the right choice and going to school, you're going to be left behind. Let's continue on.
And I gotta suffer with that decision forever. There are people literally running away from this country because they don't want to pay their student loans.
Yep.
So what? Am I going to be going crazy? Of course young men are quitting this thing. This college system is untenable.
It makes no sense.
It's untenable for everybody.
No sense.
And the fact that we pressure young folks into making this decision and telling them this is a way forward, it's not like these are lazy people who want to stay home and smoke weed all day. All right?
It's unattainable for some people, not all people. Aubrey and Preach. I say this. Yes, it's unattainable for a lot of people, but not for all people. If you have a clear vision, you have a path that you're going to focus on, and it's around business, STEM, something in the IT field, the medical field, you're going to be able to make a good amount of money so you can pay back your student loans. More than likely, you're probably already ahead of the game to where you're not going to have to owe a lot in the first place, right? So the people who just doesn't have a correct path, the people who are being told by people that, hey, you should major in anthropology, you should major in English, you should major in history. All of that crap is not worthy in the United States. Okay, from an education standpoint, yes, you can be these sorts of teachers, and we need these sorts of teachers, but do you really need a degree to be able to do this? No, all you really need is to be brushed up on the books and literature.
I know this. I know young dudes want responsibility. They want to work. And so they go out and they join the labor force, and they'll do manual labor. You tell them to go on a construction field, vast majority of them will join the next day.
And
you sure about that? You sure about that? There's many people that are going to run away for that hard labor work, man. I don't know what kind of guys you're talking about, but I can tell you this. There's not many people that's going to go out there on a construction site and do that sort of work, man. That's hard work. I can tell you this right now. That's not the kind of guy that I am. I like the white collar stuff, and I respect the blue collar. Hands down. I think they're absolutely fantastic, and they deserve everything that they get from a monetary standpoint. But I can tell you this, the majority of men are not like that. You got to remember, we're in 2021. This is not 1968 or 1970s or 1980s even.
they feel proud.
And they feel good because they know that the labor and the work that they put in comes back to them. When you go to university, it's a bit more ephemeral. It's a little bit harder to grab. It's like sand in your hand. It keeps slipping out. That's not a great feeling. Not when you're looking for stability.
Oh, you want to work, sir? Well, okay, you'll work. Give me 50 grand first. What?
Nah. It's just, it's not. So I understand the frustration that they feel. And If they're making this conscious choice to say, listen, I'm lost, but I'm not going to make this reckless choice that history has shown is probably not going to be to my benefit, good for these men.
Man.
And I hope minorities follow suit as well. If you're not choosing a great field, all right, I do not recommend that you shackle yourself with debt.
I agree with that. He hit the point right there, guys, that this whole video is about. If you're not choosing a great field, then you're shackling yourself. You're absolutely right. People who do not choose the right field are going to be working as baristas at Starbucks. They're going to be working at your local Kmart or your Walgreens, or, becoming a cashier, having a degree where they're going to be driving Uber, and you're going to have hundreds of thousands of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars in debt. And you're not going to be able to pay it off. And you're going to be one of those people who are looking to run out of the country because you're going to be so loaded, guys. So the information is out there. These guys are absolutely telling you the truth. Listen to what they're saying here. Some of the pieces of it, though, I must say, I disagree with. But, we'll jump onto those points as soon as they come up.
Don't recommend it. Take a couple extra years before you make that choice, because we're too often, I know this from an immigrant standpoint, parents
speak on it.
Put that pressure.
Speak on
They
it.
put that pressure, and I've seen it break a lot of these kids. It fucked up a lot of their lives. Kids that were supposed to be doctors and had mental breakdowns and just gave up on everything.
Yo, you should have seen my parents when my sister went from health science
right
to teaching.
Because here's the thing, there's what your parents want you to be and who you are. And these things are constantly pulling at you from both extremes. And so I think from people from minority backgrounds, they're living through that existence. And if you're fortunate, if you're one of the lucky ones, who you are happens to be pretty decently close to what your parents want you to do. So you might luck out. But most people don't have that experience. So I think the reason why this trend is so different between minority backgrounds and white folks is I think just the messaging is very, very, very different in that regards. And that pressure you get is different. It comes from a different place.
And more so, that's the only way that at some point that minorities could advance. That's when they could...
because you got to bring your mama out the hood. You got to bring your dad out. You got to pull everybody out, right? Or if you're an immigrant, well, we came to this country to give you a good life. So if you're not going to do it,
you're not going to live your dreams.
Right.
You're going to work.
So if young men are saying, nah, I'm not going to jump into this, good for you guys. Listen, you're talking to a high school dropout, which I don't recommend. But what I'm...
Oh gosh, he just announced that he is a high school dropout, and I say this, man, he's given some game, and you can tell he's a knowledgeable person. He's worldly cultured, and he has a lot of information, and he may not have the formal education, but I must say he's a very smart guy. But what I would say is this: yes, immigrants do have a lot of pressure, but just like our ancestors had a lot of pressure when they came over here to go and get that education, they had to do something with it. And for the ones that actually did something with it, meaning that they went and got one of the hard sort of majors, or they majored in something hard to where they were able to tangible produce something on the engineering side, the science side, or the business side, where they're learning about how to run a business or how to make a business work. Those guys did have success. Why not follow the same sort of blueprint that already exists? Why try to create a new one? Why try to create a new one? There's no reason to try to create something that already exists. Our ancestors already showed us what the blueprint was and have been talking to us about the blueprints before. It's the modern day that they're telling you that English is a good major, or anthropology is a good major, or criminal justice and political science is a good major. At the end of the day, you see what they pay. Look at the labor and the wage of these guys who's graduating college. If they don't get a master's degree, they're making below the average median wage, guys. So going back to this point, though, here's one thing I would say. Smart guys, I love their content, and I know they're great people, but watch who you are listening to some of the times. I made a video today about stop listening to clowns who haven't gone to college that calls college a scam. Well, if you haven't gone to college, a lot of the times you probably don't have much to say about the college experience. Now, if you've gone to college and you screwed up your life, then yeah, give people the game of what not to do. But if you've gone to college and had the success to become a millionaire like I have, I'm going to share with you my experiences and what has caused me and what's led me to become a millionaire. And that's climbing the corporate ranks, making a high salary, using that money to invest, making sure I make the right decisions and asking for equity, and our company going IPO and making it a good amount of money to continue to invest long term into real estate. That's the game, guys. It exists out there. There are many people that are like me that do the exact same thing. So follow us. Don't listen to the people who haven't gone to college, who are giving you game that don't have the experience. That's what I would say about that. And check out that video that I dropped today on the channel, on the Black Heights channel. Stop listening to people that are saying don't go to college and saying college is a scam when they really haven't gone. It's the same thing of listening to people that's never been married, but they say marriage is a joke. Don't listen to people like that, guys. They don't have any experience. They don't have any experience at all. Let's continue on.
I'm trying to say is education wasn't for me, and I could see the writing on the wall. I went to orientation day for university to go see what it was like, so I sat down on a criminology lecture and I fell asleep. And I said, nigga, I'm not paying to sleep at school. I could nap for free in my bed, save some money, and make my own choices. Because guess what? If there's one thing my mom taught me other than go to school, love your money. It just so happens that's the only lesson I listened to. Shout out to mom. Okay?
Mom taught him a good lesson about that. Love your money. You should definitely love your money. And that's why you should go towards the money. That's why you should go to college to get into a field that's going to pay you the money.
I like my money. That's why I always had a bit in the savings. Why? Because I didn't like having zero. All right? I would rather starve and wear the same clothes all day than have no money in my bank account. Okay?
Hey, shout out to you, Mamba.
I never had debt. That's one of the best lessons my mom taught me. You can't pay for it, you don't play with it. Okay? If you can't afford to play, boy, don't play.
If you can't afford to play, stay away.
Hey, that's right. Okay? That was real.
That's the only lesson you learned.
Listen. That is one lesson. My mom, she worked a lot, so she couldn't be present too often. But that lesson stuck with me my whole life, and I never had no issue with credit as a result. Yeah, in terms of finances, I understand it for folks, and I think here's the interesting thing.
Go in.
So we're speaking out social place. I think this is going to change the way work is going to work. Right? The way the whole employment landscape is going to look, completely going to change. Because all these men who are gaining experience but yet don't have the necessary paperwork for degrees, employers are going to have to start looking differently at who they're going to hire, right? Because they need competence over paperwork.
And you know,
right? So employers are going to have to look at things very differently.
I'm going to, you know what? I was going to pause and interject here. I want to listen to I'm going to finish listening to what he has to say.
All right. So it's going to change the work landscape, for one. Two, it's going to completely change the dating landscape.
Oh, yeah.
Ladies,
you're going to have to start paying for them bills.
You want somebody at your education level?
You're going to have to go get it.
You want somebody who's making maybe comparable income?
Turn a lesbian.
You know what I mean? He might not make as much as you, but best believe he's going to have less debt than you.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's
oh god, these guys are hilarious. So the landscape he's saying is going to change, and they're going to be not looking at people with degrees and so forth. What I say is this: we're going to see the change into people of different backgrounds becoming leaders in companies. Because if you think about it, these are men from a statistic standpoint, and the majority, from my understanding on this article, were white men. There's still quite a bit of people of color that are still choosing to go to school, and that still follows that same path and that blueprint that still exists. You're talking about diversity numbers now. What you're going to see now is people of different ethnicities, and you're going to see a lot more diversity now. And it's not going to be your typical white male, I would say, that's going to be in some of these leadership positions as they were in the past. Yes, they may be on the trade side and leaders of companies and so forth, things like that. But I think now what you're going to see in corporations, especially global corporations, you're going to see people who represent different countries, different backgrounds, people who are multicultural, people who speak different languages, that really are the leaders of these companies, instead of it being the guy who grew up in South Dakota and he's lived in South Dakota all his life, but he thinks that he knows the world because he has a Harvard MBA, right? That's the difference that I think that's going to happen now. Now, let's talk about the women piece of it. They're absolutely right when it comes down to that. I personally think that as you start to see more white males leaving the college education area, you're going to start to see more diversity. You're going to start to see more women in positions of leadership, which you're already starting to see. And you're also going to see women having to marry men that are more blue collar, men that aren't making as much from a corporation standpoint, men who chose not to take on the college burden and the college debt, or men who are a lot younger. It's going to be a role reversal from a perspective of the types of men that ladies are going to have an opportunity to date, because you're not going to see as many of them being white males, or you're going to start to see a lot more interracial relationships that's going to exist from the corporate field. That's what you're going to start to see as well too. So guys, I wanted to leave it right here. I'll link the full video in the description section of this video. Guys, I hope you have enjoyed this content. If you like the sort of content, do me a favor and go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so. Also, go ahead and hit that like button so that it gets us in the YouTube algorithm. And until next time, y'all, peace.